Hello, and welcome to episode 24 of Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len D'Amico, and tonight we have the one and only Ross Davis. Ross, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I love having you here. We know Ross as one of our beloved soundmen in Columbus, Ohio. And Ross is also the house soundman for Leon's Garage in Marysville, Ohio.
Yeah, one of them. There's Mark is there most of the time, and I'm helping him out.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Good deal. And you're also, as I mentioned, doing sound for folks that need professional sound reinforcement.
Yep.
Throughout the city, mostly the Columbus area.
Yeah, I'll stay around Central Ohio, and if the money's right, I'll drive farther. But just like the other guys around town would pick up shows and charge X amount and bring out lights and sound and mic them up and make them sound good, and then pack up and go home.
And it's a fine service you provide, sir.
Somebody's got to do it, But I have a great time with it. I really love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. We appreciate everything that you do and everything that you have done, and I think we'll cover a lot of the things that you've done in the Columbus area tonight. But Ross, you're in Columbus now, obviously, but where are you from? And then maybe we can talk through the journey that got you to Columbus, if you'd like to.
Sure. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, Elk Grove Village to be exact. Born in 1960, so right there in the middle of the early rock stuff. And by the time I was 10, 11, 12, I was listening to WLS and WCFL, the top 40 stations in Columbus or in Chicago. I guess comparable to WCOL here as far as what they were playing. You'd hear a Joni Mitchell record, then you'd hear Badfinger, and then you'd hear Smoke on the Water, then you'd hear, Taking Care of Business, and then you'd hear the country crossover song, and just a great exposure to all kinds of music. And then the best part is you could get your paper out money and go down to the grocery store, and they had all the top 40 singles up in the front of the store for sale.
That you could buy.
Yeah, and you could
right?
buy a single for like 25 cents or something. And there'd be the B-side then, too.
Was your whole family into music?
My dad had a lot of 78s. So he was born in 1933, so he had 78s. There was a closet at the end of the living room, and he had like 5 racks of these things, and there was maybe 50 in each rack. And it was all like show tunes and big band stuff, and, Benny Goodman and, that kind of stuff. And Mom was born a few years later, so she got into the early rock stuff. She was into Elvis and that. But my dad would play his records, almost every weekend when I was really little. Remember that?
That's cool. And then how many were in your home?
Older brother, about a year and a half older, and 2 younger sisters. My older brother was a huge influence through the whole thing, and even to this day, because he picked up guitar after a while. He exposed me to a lot of records. He gave me my first ride to the record store to buy my first legit albums, back in the day, so like 1974. So.
What was that first album?
Oh, man. So I had all the 45s in that. I was listening to the Bubblegum Radio. He started listening to WLUP and WXRT, the fine snob rock station in Chicago. And I was listening to WLUP a lot then, and got him to get my paper out money together, rode in his 72 Malibu over to Arlington Heights to Uncle Albert's Records, and bought Aerosmith's Toys in the Attic and Zeppelin 4.
Oh, man.
And the rest is history, as
Do
they
you
say.
still have those records?
Not those exact vinyls, no.
Yeah.
I've gone through so many versions and CDs and downloads and whatever over the
Wore
years.
them out, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Man, that's really cool.
Yeah. But I didn't really have a stereo, so I went downstairs and listened on the big, console system we had. Then I finally built a thing. Oh, God. So I found a mono tube amp. It's like a 3-watt amp. And I actually had a Girard turntable, belt drive turntable, my first real piece of gear that I bought. I would take one channel off the cartridge and run it to this mono tube amp, and take the other channel off and run it to a Toshiba cassette recorder that had like little buttons on the top, and put the play record and hit pause. Plug that into the microphone input on it, and this other speaker into the headphone output. And I built this little thing with 2 little 5-inch speakers in it, and I would stick my head between them to hear stereo.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what I did. Yeah.
So you're engineering at a very
It started
young
early,
age.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really...
But my brother and I, we would go to the Radio Shack and buy those speaker kits. I don't know if you remember, they're going in a flat box. And we bought the individual drivers. He had one capacitor for a crossover or whatever. But for like $50, you could build a 12-inch, two-way speaker. It was PZO crap, but
they did the job,
they
right?
did the job. And finally got a real job and started spending money on gear, just listening gear. like Kenwood separates, the KA 3500, I believe it was amplifier, and the KT 5300 tuner. And I finally saved up more money and bought a little reel-to-reel recorder, a TIAC A2300SX. We'd go to friends' houses and record their records onto the tapes, and swap albums and tapes back and forth and stuff. So, but we had all that stuff. We had everything they played on the radio then was the classic rock you hear now. The new Zeppelin album comes out, 75, Presence I think came out. Buy that, Then 78, everybody had a live album. It's like, that's when Frampton, or was it 76 or 78? Frampton comes alive, Leonard Skinner's live album, Foghat had a live album, Kansas had a live album. Everybody put out a live album, like in the same 18 months. All really good stuff. Lots of stuff to buy, And then, you remember the day these huge records came out, like Rumors came out when I was in high school in 78. And every song on that album is like just gold,
Yeah.
And the first time you heard Don't Stop, I was like, okay, it's a great song. Then you buy the record and you hear all these other songs on there, and then you start hearing them get played on the radio too. And it just blew up,
That's amazing.
But you remember where
Amazing
you were,
time,
where you were
music.
when you heard about the Skinner plane crash.
Yeah.
It was a little bit in 1980. You remember where you were when you heard about John Bonham dying, or was it Bon Scott in 80? Anyway, but yeah, you remember where you were
Both of them.
when all this stuff. Yeah. I think both were. Yeah. Music has always been a pivot point and a center point for what I was doing, even though I wasn't playing anything at that point. As my brother moved on through high school and like a junior and senior, he started playing guitar. And then, he bought a little Sun Alpha 4 mixer, like 3 times the size of that thing you were looking at there on your desk here, with like a third of the functionality. It literally had 4 inputs on it and 1 output, a speaker output.
Which could probably be replicated on a phone app.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm a little too old school. And this is actually pretty good for what I'm doing here.
But I remember them rehearsing in the living room. We'd move the couch out of the way, and his friends would come over and make a bunch of noise, and they would do Elvis and whatever, And I would turn the knob every once in a while, and if I didn't like what I was hearing,
So
4 channels.
So you're running sound at what age?
Like 15.
Wow.
But we weren't in clubs or anything.
No, but you got bit by the bug, right?
Yep. And then eventually you start working with the people that were playing with your brother and their other projects when my brother started focusing more on his life and his family. So there it goes. And also I'm in clubs mixing stuff at, 18, 19, 20 years old in Chicago.
That's wild.
And back then you could do music 5 nights a week. One club I was at the house guy at, they had like Monday Night Football on Monday night. They put the screen down. But Tuesday and Wednesday was music. Thursday was metal night where they had all the metalheads in there and they bought like free beer and pizza for them and had like really hardcore bands. Friday and Saturday was the regular touring, or regional touring acts, like you have on a Friday and Saturday around here. But Sunday they did something that I wish a club here would do. They had all ages shows. So all those young bands of 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, whether they're playing rock or metal or whatever, they'd bring them in and give them a 1-hour set on a real stage with a real lighting, and they would sell pizza and soda and stuff. But by the time you had all of their fans and their friends and their families and all 3 bands, you had 150 people in the room. And you made sure it was done by 9 o'clock because it was a school night. But I think that would be a cool thing to do, but that nobody just seems to pick up on it around here. It's a whole market there we're kind of missing out on.
I think during the 80s in Columbus, Ohio, there was that type of a model in a lot of the clubs here. I've been talking with some folks that have mentioned that format that you're talking through. But to your point, I don't know anybody doing that.
Right.
Not today, anyway.
Right. Because what do these kids play?
Well, that's the thing. Like we've seen a lot of change in music in general, right?
That's the age where you're trying to write your own songs and you're gonna make it, But then Jimmy quit and Jody got married or whatever, kind of thing happens, and you go your separate ways. Then when you're our age, you're playing covers because you can make some money doing it, and you don't really like every song. You're just doing it because you're an entertainer and you get the fact that you're there to entertain people, and as long as it's still fun, keep doing it.
Yeah, that's the key, and the money model has definitely, to your point, it's not what it was then.
It's
for musicians and bands.
You got 99% of the people splitting 1% of the money. I'm talking, from up through, Metallica down through, Days Gone By or whatever. You get 99% of the people splitting 1% of the money, and 1% of the people, with 99% of the money splitting it up. So, and there's really no in between. There's like 2 full-time musicians in this town, John Schwab being one of them. They can actually figure out a way to earn a living. But I don't know what he's doing for healthcare. I don't know what he's doing for retirement. I don't know what he's doing for any of that stuff. There's nothing. If I had to pay healthcare out of what I charge sound, I'd have to charge 3 times what I charge, and I'd be out of the business. I have a wife with a great job and benefits. That's how
Partnership.
I'm going to the doctor tomorrow.
Lifestyle.
And I can do that. But
Lifestyle.
I'd be thinking of how I'm going to pay for that.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, I think partnership, and lifestyle blending is how some are
Right.
moving through, but definitely a challenge.
Yeah. But I went back and forth between Chicago and Austin, Texas, a couple of years when I was working for Dell Computer. I met a girl in Chicago, and she was a singer, so it's like, well, I want to go to Nashville, or I'm going to go to Austin. It's like, okay, whatever. By that time, I had done sound in Chicago for 17 years. So I'm like, okay, Austin's the live music capital of the world. Let's go check it out. So we went down there, and just because there's a Pizza Hut with a mic and a speaker on the wall, it makes it, it's more quantity than quality down there. So I got a job with Dell Computer, and they got all the benefits I needed and all that. And when she ran off with the cowboy in a Jeep, I was fine. I actually enjoyed working for Dell. Did a few shows on the side at clubs that had sound built in. And I was on vacation at my brother's in Huntsville, Alabama, and I got the call, hey, can you go up to Columbus? We've got a project going on up there. By that time, I'd been there, for like 6 or 7 years. I kind of was one of the guys who knew what was going on. So then me up to Grove City, and that's where I met my wife. And they were paying my house and my rental car, and it was supposed to be like a 2-week trip. I was there for like 3 years. So then between 1998 and 2002, I went back to Austin for a while. We had my son down there. We had my daughter while we were living up here. And then came back up here again, and I said, no matter what happens with Dell or any of this tech stuff, I'm gonna stay in Columbus. I like Columbus. There's a lot going on there. And I started buying more gear, got the condo, put the studio in the basement. A lot of people remember that.
What year was that?
It was 2007 when I came back. It was February of 2007 when we bought the condo. So it took maybe 6 months. The first thing we did was build that basement up, And it was kind of cool to be in a condo with 3 other residents and to have a reggae band in there at 2 a.m. and ask the next morning if the neighbors heard anything, and they say no, because we just built the poop out of that room, and it was on the right end of the condo.
I personally remember that room. It was built I don't know how you
double doors and everything. Yeah, there's a lot of thought went into that. Yeah, it's still a studio today.
That's good to know.
Unis Latif, if you're interested, is the guy who's engineering there now. And I'm an old analog guy, so I would even when I went to my other studio in Canada, I'd have the big analog board, and I would still record with computers. But this guy has got all the latest stuff. He's got some money put into it. He's got Neumann mics and really cool stuff, and he's drumming a little bit now. He's actually a really good drummer. But he could do radio quality stuff in there now. It's just the same old basement, the same walls we put up.
No, Ross, I've heard you on a kit. You're a good drummer.
I'm okay. Well, okay. So when I was in Austin, I was doing a few shows. I had no woman in my life. I had a room with a friend I was playing basketball with, in a house. It was a nice house and everything. I went to a music store on Lamar Boulevard and bought a Pearl drum kit and brought it home and started playing along with the Who and Tom Petty and all that stuff because I just wanted to do something musically besides the 1 or 2 shows I was doing out. And my brother was still playing guitar, and we have nephews and nieces, and they're all musical, and cousins and brothers-in-law and all that. They're all musical. So every time we get together as a family, I make sure I got the electronic drums in the car or whatever, so we do jam sessions. And Father's Day weekend, we get together, and there's 4, 5, 6 of us. I'm getting my son involved in it too, playing drums a little bit. And it's just a family thing. It's a father-son thing for Father's Day weekend. It's just Mustang Sally or whatever, something we can all remember. We might have 1 or 2 songs we work on ahead of time so you can figure them out. But cool. I can play some basic beats and stuff. I have my favorite tempos that I kind of lock into. The fun part is when there's an original song and you get to come up with something. I think that's a lot of fun.
Have you written any?
They wrote some songs, and I just listen to the guitar line and watch his hands, and it's like, okay, maybe make a suggestion like, well, that's 11. Let's make it 12 or 16 or something that makes sense because it felt like the change came too early or whatever. But they'll try to throw you a curveball and write something in some weird time signature. And it's like, dude, I'm not that guy. Stuart Copeland, I'm not Stuart Copeland. So, but it's fun. It's as an engineer, it was good to try something on the other side of the glass to kind of get a perspective of what it feels like. You know, how when you communicate to them from the booth, what kinds of things you can say to encourage them, or when you're coming to adjust something, you know, like make them know that they're doing fine. You just want to move this mic a little bit or whatever, you know, get them to relax. And the rates I was charging, like in Gahanna, I had the 4 rooms. The rates I was charging, I think, were conducive to that. They weren't paying $200 an hour where, you know, if I can't afford to make a mistake kind of a thing. You know, let's relax. Show up really early. We'll set you up. You can warm up. You can rehearse the song a couple times. Sometimes I would say, just run through it one more time, and I would actually record it, because sometimes that one, they don't think, or the pressure's off, they get it. But some of the best recordings were everybody in the room, and we'd overdub the vocals later, you know, because you can see everybody and feel it and groove it, and maybe add a guitar solo after the fact. But we did a lot of good stuff in Gahanna at that studio there with the Soundcraft board. It was a lot of fun.
Definitely.
And you were a regular in there. You were like every Monday night, right, with your guys?
Monday
Monday?
or maybe Wednesday.
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
One of the
right.
two.
Yeah.
A couple bands, right?
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun, you know, and I still have a lot of fun.
It was like the barbershop in Mayberry, because you'd have, you know, they'd all be the country guys and the metalheads talking about their gear in the lobby, and then someone would sit down on somebody else's kit and bang around for a minute, and all the Monday night guys knew each other. They'd be out having a cig or something in the parking lot, and it became a social thing. I mean, they came to do their work,
You know,
but it became a really nice social event and a social occasion. And if there was a problem, you know, like when one of the guys passed away, and it was a rough night, and I mentioned to the other bands, I said, hey, you know, we had a tragedy with one of the other bands. And they're like, we're just going to take the night off. And they just left. Well, bless you, thank you. Because it was no regrets. You know, they lost Luke, the guitar player.
yeah.
And they came and told me, you know, they haven't told the whole band yet, so they're going to break it to him in the room, because they just found out like an hour ago. It's like, oh, God, you know. So I got to keep a straight face when he walks by me, you know. Yeah, and I told the other bands, I put them aside, I said, hey, you know, something went down here, and there'll be some tears, and who knows what's going on in this place. So the one stayed, and they were all the way in the back. That was cool, but the rest of them said, we'll just take the night off. It's cool, you know, I respect that. So, but they became family. You know, I did Christmas cards from them, and, you know, all this stuff. And once you do shows with a band, you're almost like the 5th or 6th member. You kind of get that
There's
feeling.
no question,
Yeah.
especially you.
Well, you know, I try to make it fun, because nobody's out there to like earn a living off of it. They don't want to be embarrassed by what they're getting paid, so you got to be respectful when you pay them. But they want to have fun with it. It's like their bowling night, you know. It's like this: we do 1 gig a month, and we have our 1 rehearsal night a month. You know, I'm not a car guy. I'm not spending my money on guns or whatever. This is I buy guitars, I got my buds, I have a beer, and I play my music. You know, it's that's the word to get away from the fam and kind of. Not that they're not good family men, they are, but just to do a thing, you know. It's our thing. It's like, you know, Water Buffalo Lodge or whatever. So they want to have fun. When they get to a show, the last thing they want is some arrogant sound man on their ass about their tone or telling them this and that. There's ways to talk to people to get them to kind of cooperate, like if they're too loud or whatever. Hey, man, you know, the bartender wants you to pay $8 for the bottle you just broke up there, you know, or something like that. Start with a joke, you know.
You know, because a lot of folks don't know. You
Right.
know, when you first start out, you don't know.
Yeah, you know, this thing is directional. It's blowing right past your knees, and your ears, I think they're up on the top of your head. Turn your head to the side. Yeah, there they are. You know, make it fun and say, hey, I can put a whole bunch of it in that monitor if you bring it down a little bit, you know, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, there's really great tips I've witnessed, you know, and I've seen for others too that you've provided, and you do it very tactfully.
Hopefully they take that to the next show, you know, and keep it in their back pocket as a thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. How we doing on time?
Oh, good.
Good.
Real good. Yeah, real good. I think you know, we bringing up Gahanna.
Mm-hmm.
That was always a very it was a night, to your point, where, you know, for me as somebody who was in a band or running a band at that time, I looked forward to that. You know, I did my homework, and we'd come in and we would work on, you know, new material, maybe getting ready for the next gig. And I remember being kind of starstruck too, because like I got a late start in this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
But I knew of, and I had been to see some shows, and there were always kind of Columbus local music royalty coming in and out of Ross's studio, and I'd be like, oh my God, that's, you know, somebody that I knew,
like at these guys live that have been around for
Absolutely.
a long time and just slaying it all over the place. Friendly guys, nice guys. They're there to work too, just like everybody else. But they realize you put the work in, you're gonna get the result. So But they set the example then too. You know, they get in there and they show up on
hard-
time and they plug in,
hard-working
they tune
band.
up, and they have fun. They joke for a while, but they play their songs and they go home. You know.
Yep. Yeah, and I remember one time I was sitting in your lobby. Who was what was the name of your turtle?
Oh, Scooter.
Scooter.
We still have Scooter.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, Scooter's still doing his thing.
How old is Scooter?
Oh God, probably like 8 years old or something by now.
Oh man,
He lives with my son. He's bunking with my son.
that's very cool.
His hobbies are swimming, sunbathing, and rock climbing.
For sure.
Yeah,
Well, so one night I'm hanging with Scooter in your green room lobby,
Yeah.
and this dude walks. He's hustling through with his Marshall 4x12.
Right.
And I remember saying to myself, "Oh my God, that's Matt Bradley. I think
wow.
that's Matt Brad. Is
Yeah.
that Matt Bradley?"
Yeah.
And so then he came back out for trip 2. And he comes in, and I put my hand out. I'm like, I gotta meet Matt.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love this guy's
Yeah.
style and everything. And I don't know who he was with in your studio at that time, but
It might have been Rock This Way, or he filled in
it was
for
a
a few
kind of a
bands.
one-off. Yeah, it was one of those one-off things.
He did
I'm
some
like,
stuff with
"Hey,
the Pretty
Matt,"
Filth a
and
little bit.
I was just shocked at how cool he was, and how he just took a minute. He was obviously busy. He took a minute, and we, said, hey, and to your point earlier, very social atmosphere. You had a very comfortable environment, and it was great. It was a great part of what was going on.
I would get bands in there that used to rehearse in the drummer's basement or whatever, and they'd be like, well, the guys would rehearse on Monday night at 8 o'clock. The guys would roll in late, drunk, or they'd bring their friend with, and, they wouldn't get anything done. Too many distractions. The TV would be on with the football game, Around here, we know we're paying. It's not a lot. I would charge a lot of money. Charge like $100 a month for
It was
4
so
times.
reasonable.
They get there. They get there on time. They got a half an hour between bands if they're on a Sunday and there's a bunch of bands. The drum kit's there. The bass kit's there. You plug in and you play till your time is done, and then you're done. And I would save all those settings on the digital mixers, so that when there's a whole bunch of time like sound checking for a practice or whatever. If you wanted to use your in-ears, you could. If you wanted to use your own wireless mic or work on your show a little bit and move around a little bit, you could. Some of the rooms are big enough where you could set up almost like a stage. And yeah. And then COVID hit, so I was a non-essential business, and I had a year and a half left on that lease. So it's like, oh God, and it wasn't a cash-rich business. It paid for itself. The rehearsals paid for the room, and then the room became a place to store my PA gear and a place where I could record for free. So I was making money off that. But it still took 7 days a week, which takes a toll at home, When I had it in the basement, it was kind of nice because, I could just go downstairs and check things and come back up and watch, movies with the wife or whatever. So I missed that part of it. But she was all for when it was time to renew the lease to go ahead and put 2 more years on it, which we did. And then 6 months later, COVID comes in. So I can't take a bunch of people, and put them in an airtight room. All it takes is for one guy in the band to be really nervous about things. And everybody was nervous about it. But it just takes one guy to say, I can't practice with you guys. I'm going to sit home from
It was horrible. Horrible.
So did a couple thoughts, talked to the wife and threw a few prayers up. And we actually had to borrow money to pay off that lease because that landlord was like, well, here's a place where you can get a loan, and there was no forgiveness of anything around
He
there.
was
It
just
was
going to
DRK,
use
big
you
outfit.
to pay his mortgage,
Yeah,
right?
well, that's true. He had his bill to pay too.
You and his other tenants.
So we borrowed some money, and we're still paying it back.
Yeah.
And I had like 10 of those 20-foot long roll-off dumpsters show up one by one in the back, and I got a Sawzall and a mask and a pair of gloves, and it was therapy. I spent like 3 months just cutting that thing down by
remember.
myself.
I remember.
People offered to help. It's like, no, I kind of need to do this myself, I'm getting kind of emotional about it because it was a big deal for me. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was good therapy to do that. And then to finally, take a hose in there and hose it all off. It looked just like it did the day I moved in. We had basically built a house inside this thing.
How many rooms did you have in that space?
There was 4 rooms.
I remember.
And there was double layers of drywall inside and outside. We had floor joists for the ceiling so we could support all that.
It was well made.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. And you couldn't hear the
There
project
was
next
6
to you.
inches of dead space between all the rooms.
Even if it was Jason Levitt on drums
And
next to you, you couldn't hear him.
And you're on a
but you knew
concrete
he was
floor.
there.
And you're on a
You knew he
concrete
was
floor.
there. Yeah, I know.
And they were all of those Mackie mixers in them so I could just make changes if someone, I would get text from room 4. Hey, can you give me a little more vocal in the first monitor? There you go. Been watching the Blue Jackets game in the front,
That was perfect.
Yeah.
But you knew what you were doing, man.
And there was some room for bands to store some of their gear there. I couldn't hold everything, but it worked out nice for a lot of people.
It was wonderful.
And they were really sad when I tore it down. I post pictures of me sawing it down. It's like, no. I go, dude, I can't. I got nobody coming in here. I can't make you guys come out. I can't make you pay when you can't come out either. That was one thing I'm thinking. Well, you want to hold your room for when COVID's over? No, I can't. I can't charge people $1,200 a year to not come out just to save a room. So I cut it up.
Yeah. So you chose to close up and
then it took the scene. Really, this past summer was the first summer where the scene finally felt like it was normal again. Even last summer was pretty good, but it still felt like there was a few places that were kind of
2023, 3 years later.
Yeah. Now they're talking again. It's like, you shut up.
Are they though?
There's a few things.
I wonder if that's just.
I think there's a few alarmists out there that hear things that are like,
Yeah. Just trying to stir up.
Just because one grade school in California had a flu epidemic and they passed out masks, so don't make it think that Fauci's like rubbing his hands together and looking for a microphone again. It's not like that. I'm Dr. Fauci. You wear 4 masks on your face and you put one around your balls and you'll be fine. And don't breathe and you say 6 feet 6 inches apart this time.
Oh man!
Remember DeWine with his?
The phones are ringing. The phones are ringing.
They want more Fauci. DeWine with his thing every day. Well, here's the numbers. I feel like it was a lottery show or something. 06, 10, 4, 6, 5, 2 foot, and then whatever the doctor, the female doctor would come on and then, so you gotta do this and don't go to the grocery store just to look around. You gotta buy milk. Go get your milk. But then come right out. Watched a lot of movies and ate a lot of frozen pizza and, it was great family time to make up for lost time.
I remember every night I came to the studio, I would go to your son's snack bar.
Yeah.
And get like a
Alex's
Snicker
store.
bar, Alex's store.
So my daughter.
And a Diet Coke.
In 2007, my daughter would have been, she was born in 2002.
They were young, man.
She was 5, and she put up that Alex's store at the condo.
Oh, wow.
We would drive her over to Sam's Club, and she'd buy the big bins of things. I loaned her the first $20 to get started. I said, this is a small business loan. I want interest, blah, blah, blah. I actually rented her a key. I looked at the mortgage, and I rented her a kiosk that was like 6 square feet. We went to rent like a little business. I wanted her to learn some things from it. She hired her brother to help. She fired her brother at one point for insubordination, whatever that is. And I said, you fired your brother? Well, he wasn't doing the work. I asked him to fill this and move the garbage can out, and he wouldn't do it. So I fired him for insubordination. She was like 9 at the time. I'm like, okay. And I can do that because in Ohio, you don't have to tell them why you fire them. I go, where did you get all this from? Oh, my friend at school, his daddy's a lawyer or something, It's like...
Smarty pants.
But yeah, and then when I moved into the place in Gahanna, she saw the water fountain. She's like, oh no, they're going to get that for free. I'm going to lose my butt on this.
Dude, I always bought a bottle of water. Always. I never used the fountain.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Good for you.
But only because I knew it was your kids that were selling.
Daddy, what if that thing became unplugged from the wall and only warm water came out of it?
Can I put a skull and crossbones sign over the top of so it'll deter them?
Bad water.
Don't use.
Yeah.
The restrooms were always clean.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I cleaned them.
Oh,
you think I'm going to own the studio, you're cleaning toilets and you're shoveling snow out from the front of the door and you're doing all this stuff.
But you ran it well.
Well, I tried.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a place that I'd want to go to also. Because I spent a lot of time there too. I don't want to sit down on a sticky toilet,
Yeah, definitely be proud of, man.
Yeah. They were good times and I left on my terms. I could have fought and scratched and clawed and, but it's like, no, it's something's telling me this part of my life is over. And I get asked all the time, "Are you going to start another studio?" No, I'm not going to. I can't get that genie back in the bottle. I'm actually taking a lot of my PA gear that I had back then that I'm using in clubs. When I go around and do sound at various clubs, and I'm downsizing it as far as weight goes. I'm switching from Yamaha to RCF cabinets, which are more powerful and much lighter. I got rid of my trailer. I'm going to make sure it all fits in the van no matter what size show I'm doing. and it'll actually sound better and be more potent and louder than what I had, and be smaller and lighter for this 62-year-old guy to haul around in. So I'm kind of going through a transformation. Everything's going to get switched out, including the lighting gear at some point.
Just like us bass players and guitar players, man. Like my rig used to be pretty large, and now it's. I haven't gone. Well, with this band I'm in now, and I'm not digital. I know Jeff is doing modeling. He's got a modeling board,
Right.
and it's working out for him. I may go that direction. I don't know. I'm not sure where we're headed, but I think I love old school tube amps, though, man. I think it's hard for me to. And I don't use a big giant one now. I use a 112 and an 18 watt, handmade, hand wired tube head as my go-to, and I've used that for a long time. But dirt box in the front, tuner, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, there's more options now than there was.
True.
If you wanted a Tele Fender Twin sound, you bought a Tele and got a Fender Twin. Now there's a couple pedals.
You dial it on your phone and
Yeah.
Bluetooth it to some device
Yeah.
that's down there by your feet.
Yeah,
It's
if you're going to
crazy.
record, you might hear the difference, but there are guitar players who can tell wireless from a cord. So when you get to that level, it's like, okay, dude, do what you want. Just point it toward the wall because it's really fucking loud. Yeah, those guys. Well, guitar out of all the people in the band, the guitar player is the one that is least satisfied with their tone on any given day, and always buying new stuff. I do gigs with these bands one right after another, a couple months apart, and the guy's got a whole new rig every show because he just can't. And he's like 45 years old. He just can't find the tone he wants. Somewhere between the strings and the pickups and the wood and the guitar and the cables you're using and all the pedals and the order the pedals are in, which ones are going in the front, which ones are going through the loop. What volume you're playing at, whether the tubes are really old or really new, whether they're Japanese tubes or Russian tubes or, Slavic tubes or whatever. Seriously.
Not groove tubes.
Well, when I use the blue cable, it sounds a little different than the red cable. It's like, okay, dude, yeah.
They know.
They
Or
know.
or curly or coily cables versus.
Those are the guys
straight.
when they're playing and you got to run across the stage, you run past the ramp really fast. Because if you stop and block sound, they're going to turn around and give you a look that'll melt you right into the carpet. Yeah, that's the look. Because they can hear that. Even though you got like 90% of it coming out of their monitor instead. Yeah.
You've seen it all.
I have
What's the
seen it all.
craziest thing that's happened on stage for you, Ross? Like live at a show?
It wasn't that long ago. We had the Kid Rock tribute up at Leon's, and what was the name of that guitar player? Oh shoot, I can see his face.
We don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
No, it's not. It wasn't
Okay.
like that. So
Okay, good.
they had a drum set up off the riser off to the side, and they're a really good band. They do a lot of covers. They launched into Stranglehold.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they were just nailing it.
Wailing.
I had the tablet, and I was up front by the subs, and I was bobbing my head a little bit and everything, mixing them. And all of a sudden, it's like, where'd my subs go? Holy crap, my subs! I just lost my subs, And then I just listened to my sub, and I was right there. I hear bass guitar coming out of the sub. It's like, well, what's with my kick drum mic? And then I see signal on the kick drum mic. It's not going up and down. And then the drummer's like going like this and waving his head at me, and I look, and his beater had fallen off of his pedal.
Oh.
And he's in the middle of a 9-minute song. So he's like making all the faces at me, and I'm like, okay. I went and got a drum key from
Fix it.
the other band, and I go up there and I slide the floor tom out of the way, and I put my earplugs in and I stick my head underneath his snare drum, and I get that thing, and since I own 4 drum kits, I'm capable of remounting a beater. So put it on there, put it where the mark was, held it down, cranked it up, pulled back, put the drum back, and he's like,
Got it.
it's stuff like that.
Wow.
It's not panicking. It's taking a deep breath and going, okay. Troubleshooting on the fly is like what separates the men from the boys,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That crazy moment like that.
Young
just
guitar
hit
players
you
show up and
smooth.
they plug in their brand new. It's still got the tags on it Marshall had, and they're sweating because no sound is coming out. And you kind of look around the back and there's no speaker cord there. You don't want to embarrass the kid, but say, hey bro,
Just ask the question, right?
yeah, when you're done tuning there, look like, yeah, when you're done tuning there, you want to hit the speaker cable back here so you're oh yeah, that's what it is. I'm like, just relax, dude. It's all good,
Oh,
you know these songs, right? Yeah. How long you been playing? Just try to,
2 weeks.
Well, I started
2
yesterday.
weeks, man.
I learned on YouTube. GuitarJunkie.com or whatever it is.
There's a lot of them out there today. it's a good time to learn guitar. But
Yeah.
but the music is different.
Or drums too. I mean, you could get lost. I mean, I've been watching Drumeo. It's like a thing. Simon Phillips was on there, talking about stuff, and they have Terry Bozzio and they have all these guys on there. So, and yeah, just the stories. They still have the same kind of stories, but they're in front of 60,000 people. There's a video out there of a drummer who's obviously playing with a click, and something happened, and he lost the click, and his drum tech. You see the drum tech behind him, kneeling on the floor behind the drum throne with one ear cup headphone on, tapping this guy on the back. He's tapping out the freaking tempo of this click to it.
I saw that.
I'm like,
video.
there you go. That's the kind of shit that really happens that people don't realize it. How fast do you react to that? Todd Zuckerman getting his snare drum changed in the middle of a song. Mm-hmm. He missed like 3 snare hits and did some tom thing in between.
In the famous string change that Stevie Ray Vaughan had
that thing
down
was,
in
Austin City
Texas.
Limits.
Yeah. And didn't even miss a freaking beat.
He just looked back,
changed out
his and that guitar. Guy was there,
Yeah, he was there. They swapped out, and the sound was amazing. They didn't even.
Just recently, I'm doing a gig, and the bass player's got his foot up on the drum riser. I'm like, what's that all about? There's this bass strap hanging down. You sneak up there and you put it on and you clip it on there, and just little shit like that. You pay attention. Some sound guys by the third set, they're dancing or hitting on chicks at the bar or whatever. I want to. The mix is my show. That's my guitar solo or whatever. I want to. That's the best part. I charge you to hump gear. I do the mixing for free because I love it. I still love it. I still get little goosebumps right before the show. Yeah, it's all good.
That's very good. That's very good.
How we doing?
Pretty good, man. I did want to maybe to bring us around the circle. You were in Columbus. You ran your studio. COVID hit. What'd you do next, man? What drew you out to Marysville for Leon's? And
I've always been involved one way or another with QFM with things. I'm going back to New Year's Eve shows they used to do at KDB, where the morning crew would be there. This is before the contest even started, and hang out with Torg once in a while on the side. I've been up to his lake place once, and he's a good guy. And Christy, always got along with Christy and Jimmy.
Absolutely.
In fact, Jimmy proposed to Christy over my PA at a show.
Oh my gosh!
So I got that going for me, and I remind her of that every once in a while. She's like, "Yes, you were there," and I didn't really know her that well then, But the radio station is, and then when they started doing the contests, well, Jackass Genius won the first year, and they were rehearsing with me. I don't know if they were rehearsing me at that point, but when No Regrets won, they became Rock House later. They were rehearsing in my studio, and they were going through their songs, and they're like, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this transition?" Because they actually built like a 29-minute set or whatever, where they ran things together, kind of like what Radio City did. They shortened some songs.
Yep.
So I kind of coached them through that, and then I ended up getting asked to judge the contest because I threw like $1,000 studio voucher in as a prize or something. So they asked me to be a judge at one of them, so that was cool. And that was the year Red Light Go won, which was easy because there were some great bands there, don't get me wrong, but Red Light Go was, a notch above everybody else. So it was an easy one for us. And then when they came to Leon's, the first year they came to Leon's, I just went in there because I wanted to see the show. I didn't have any ties to it or anything. And I saw you there.
Well, Jeff and I were representing the 2 guitar players for Days Gone By, and we were there that night to see the show. And we were
what's up now? Hugs and stuff and love and all that. And it's like, so what are you doing? Yeah, I'm looking at the sound, Though Mark and Mick are great guys, but that PA they had in there was like hurting that night. It was a Bose, like you bring to a coffee shop or call a bingo game with, the little sticks, little Bose sticks. Not even Jimmy Hahn big sticks, little tiny sticks. And you walk around the back, and the red lights, the compression lights are just on the whole time. They can't. So it was a rough night for them. And I saw the owner. You introduced me to the owner.
Well, I had just like a minute or two prior to you coming. I remember this like it was like last week.
It was
you coming to the bar. I had just met the owner, and I was talking with him about what's going on, and he said, "Yeah, we could use some help with the sound." And I was like, oh, like I just kind of like tabled that. But I thought,
And that was before you saw me?
It was before I saw you. It was like, you probably don't even know that.
I snuck in the back door. I saw fans loading in and out.
You came in, and when he came around the corner, I think you were talking about, wow, this would be so cool to like be a part of
It's a beautiful room, yeah.
And so he had come around because he was working the bar that night. It was very busy.
Right.
And I don't remember the gentleman's name, but and I don't even know if he's still the owner. But he, I just remember introducing you guys, and I said, "This is the best sound man in Columbus, Ohio, Ross Davis."
Yeah.
And he said to you, "You want a job?" And you said, "Sure." And he said, "Come with me." And then boom, I didn't see you the rest of the night.
Yeah. Well, he introduced me to Allie, who books the room and also hires the sound guys.
Yeah.
And before I left, I had like, okay, come on out here and you can sit with so and so on the next show, and then we'll have you out a couple times to run lights and sit next to the board, you know. And it was an M32, which is like the Behringer X32, you know. It's a common format, so it wasn't a huge learning curve as far as what they were using. And but yeah, those Bose cabinets were under match with that room. So after a while, I brought some of my stuff in there. I had the double 18s on each side, and for like that Kid Rock show and stuff, you know. Yeah. Ryan Snyder was the name of the opening act for Kid Rock that I helped with the drum kit. Ryan Snyder.
Yeah.
You should check him out, Ryan Snyder. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. When you get a
Absolutely.
chance, I'll tell you again about the name. But yeah, so my gear was down there for a little while, and I would like sneak half of it out to do a show, you know, on my own or whatever. But and then they put the line arrays in, and it's just a whole new ball game down there.
The room is wonderful.
They've got a full curtain along the back now.
And that helped with a lot of the reverberation.
Yeah.
And
The early shows, I didn't have to add any reverb to any vocals or drums or anything. It was too much already, you know. Couldn't make it go away. So they had a lot of soundproofing up in the ceiling, and they put that curtain up. Yeah. But it's a great room. People just think it's so far away. It's like, you know, you just went to Indian Lake for a show. You went right past us. It's like 20 minutes from Dublin. Oh, Marysville. Oh, the bike nights again in Marysville. It's so far away.
it's really not. But the venue is great.
Yeah. And then my relationship with the station also got me like pushed towards, you know, when they did the bike nights, it's like, you know, they were like, hey, we get Ross out there on Thursdays, you know, so that's cool. Because if you get a Thursday gig, you're golden, because Fridays and Saturdays will book themselves all summer long.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So I did the last 2 years of bike nights. I haven't heard whether they're doing it again next year or not, but I kind of hope they do.
Well, I'm glad that you're still there and you're having fun with Leon's.
Yeah.
And Leon's has premier music.
Mark is the lead engineer. He lives real close, so it makes sense to have him do it. And like I say, I'm like kind of reinvesting in my system, so I don't want to like be a full-time house guy just yet. But if you're going to be a house guy and be in a room once in a while, it's a darn good room to be in, let me tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I know QFM's house band this year, 2023, our friends, Radio City.
Yeah.
Love to have you do their shows, mix their shows.
Yeah. They're great people.
They're busy.
Yeah. We have a lot of fun, but we're still serious enough to put on a good show, you know.
And then the rest of us, when we're lucky, like this coming weekend, we get to have you mix our shows.
We should probably plug that show, you know.
We can.
Let's say what the date is today and what the date the show is, because somebody listening, you know, and they're going to show up on Saturday in January for a show.
7 years when I'm gone, and they're going through all these episodes. Yeah. So today is September 27th, I think, is it not? 2023.
Yes, yep.
So September 30th on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, in what, 3 days? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 days. The Flint Station on Park Street, between Worthington and Westerville. The old Flint Carryout is now Flint Station. They got a great patio. The forecast for Saturday, I believe, is 80 degrees and
like a
balmy,
1% chance of rain.
Balmy. Little slight breeze.
Who's the lady up there that's running that now? Her name is
Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan.
Reveal.
Morgan Reveal. Yeah.
And
she used to be
wonderful.
up in by Polaris there at Tommy O'Brien's, right? Wasn't she one of the bartenders there?
I think you can still see her and find her in there from time to time.
But she's really good people, and she said when they got me lined up, she's like, "Oh God, thank you," you know, because it was a short notice thing. I had a cancellation. Like we have a Facebook page where we plug the shows that we need help for.
That's cool.
And all the sound guys look at it, and I grab that, and I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?"
Well, the band I play in for the last 5 or 6 years, I can't keep track anymore. Days Gone By was originally booked to do a show, but then Morgan came to us and said, "You know, I really would like to make this a festival and make this a little bit bigger with music."
Once they announced the Buckeye schedule and you found out it was a bye week,
Right.
That's probably when she said, "Okay, let's blow this up."
All of that.
Yeah.
And so there is a band that's playing at 3 o'clock, 3 to 4, by the name of Grandma's Cookie Jar, and they're a rock band. I think a 3-piece. I don't think they're adolescents, but they're a younger group.
Right.
So I'm anxious to meet them
yeah,
and
That'd
see
be a
hear
hit.
what they're all
Right.
about. And you're running sound for this whole festival.
Right.
Days Gone By is 5 to 7:30 p.m. And then they're headlining this event with Lovesick Radio.
Yeah. I've heard good things about them. They've been touring in that. They get around.
They get around globally.
Yeah.
They just did a full European tour, and they're just back to Columbus. I'm not sure if it's the full band. I'm hopeful that it is. That'll be playing this Saturday at Flint.
Right. They
Flint
should be a good. That
Station.
should be a good draw. They need to promote. Hopefully, they're promoting that show. Everybody, I know you guys are.
There's a lot of social media going on, and then
the weather's going to be great.
Yeah, and Morgan's got connections. Morgan's promoting that, and I think there's others. Obviously, they're making special consideration for parking,
Right.
and that'll be a fun show. It'll be good to hang out with you all day. What time are you showing up? I mean, the first band goes on at 3.
I usually say, okay, let's say it's a 3 o'clock show, 2 o'clock sound check, a noon arrival, and then I shoot for like 11:30 just in case it's a weird load in or something like that. I don't want to work too hard. I want to get everything right. I want to repatch things as I went too fast. So I give myself like 2.5 hours to set it up. And then if the band doesn't show up and they don't want a sound check or they show up for a late sound check, that's just a cushion,
Yeah, clear this through Morgan. Okay. Morgan told me that if you enter the patio from the railroad track side, you can drive to the stage and you can unload. And then obviously you'll want to move.
Yeah.
The festival, I think, starts at noon, so I don't know how many people are going to be there. But something to think about. Maybe
I'll touch
talk
base
to
with her.
Morgan about.
Yeah.
But I typically, when I play there, and it's been acoustic to date, this will be the first electric, full band with Days Gone By that I'll have played at Flint Station. But I usually, hire one of the bar backs to take my gear out of the parking lot into the stage. Because I'm this old man. I got messed up feet, and I'm a mess.
You're doing fine, Lenny.
I'm a mess, but
You're a hot mess.
It's getting better.
Good.
It is only because I'm doing stuff, but it's a struggle.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that. But nonetheless, my bandmates are great sports. I had a rough year physically, and they didn't throw me out. They were very supportive, and I love them for it.
Yeah. That's definitely a brotherhood there. A good bunch of guys.
My God. Yeah, it's a fun band.
Yeah.
It's a great band.
I mean, you want to do it right. You want to play the songs right, but it's a good time. It's a good vibe, and the audience picks up on that too.
Oh yeah.
That you guys are, and Charles is a great front man, and it's a good all the way around. People get it. They understand what you guys are trying to do. And it's fun.
Yeah, and we do maybe 8 or 10 gigs a year. We're not a busy band. But nonetheless, we have a lot of fun. And we're looking forward to the show. And I can't wait to see Lovesick Radio.
Yeah.
Well,
hopefully the barbacks will get your car loaded and you can hang out in front with me and we can rock out.
that'll be fun, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that is going to wrap episode 24, Ross.
Wow, 24.
Ross Davis here on Columbus Local. Thanks for listening, Ross. I appreciate it, and I'll see you Saturday.
No problem, brother. We'll see you around.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.